ChatGerry, Engineering Neuro-Recovery, number 1530, VPT 085, the 9th of February 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category, Neuroscience. Introduction. From daily practice to structural brain repair, more than 7 months have passed since my hemorrhagic stroke near the pontine region on June 21, 2025. During this time, I have done one thing consistently: observe my brain carefully and design my own recovery based on what I experienced, not on theory alone. More than 7 months have passed since my hemorrhagic stroke near the pontine region on June 21, 2025. During this time, I have done one thing consistently: observe my brain carefully and design my own recovery based on what I experienced, not on theory alone. The first and most obvious damage I noticed was memory loss, both short-term and long-term. This was unlikely to come directly from the pons itself, which mainly controls breathing, heartbeat, and swallowing. However, I experienced multiple seizures within 24 hours after the stroke. From both clinical logic and personal observation, it became clear that the seizures, not the bleed location, were the primary cause of my memory disruption. During the first 90 days, often called the golden recovery period, I focused intensely on memory rehabilitation. I used repetitive daily testing, similar to how musicians or athletes train. Over time, my memory recovered from an estimated 40% loss to about a 2% to 5% remaining deficit. I now see this period as a time-dependent window, when repeated training prevented temporary damage from becoming permanent loss. The second change surprised me more. 3 months after the stroke, in October of 2025, I began recalling concepts I had not used for 50 to 60 years, including topology from 1967 and stochastic processes from 1979. These ideas did not return as vague memories. They returned as usable tools, which I now apply directly in my research. This experience fits what neuroscience calls neural unmasking, where the brain bypasses damaged roots and reactivates long-dormant pathways, leading to a clear improvement in my cognitive capability. The third change was emotional. Since November of 2025, my emotional sensitivity increased noticeably. I now cry more easily when reading a sad story or watching a suffering child on TV. My emotional responses arrive faster and stronger. At first glance, this might appear like weakness, but it is not. Before the stroke, my brain had a strong internal control system that filtered emotions before they reached the surface. After the stroke, part of that control system weakened. My personality did not change, the regulation mechanism did. Think of it like removing a risk filter from a trading system. Emotions are not stronger, but they reach awareness more directly. The buffer is thinner. The system responds with higher resolution and less delay. This is not loss of control. It is a change in sensitivity. This emotional softening also helped me understand why old memories resurfaced. When internal filters loosen, not only emotions but also deep memory layers become more accessible. What was once tightly gated becomes reachable again. After July 2025, I began intensive self-study in neuroscience. Before my stroke, I knew almost nothing about the brain. Over about 210 days, I read more than 1,000 pages of neuroscience material and wrote about 200 stroke-related papers. The stroke damaged part of my brain, but it also ignited a powerful drive to understand it. One central lesson became clear: stroke recovery is not just healing. It is reorganization through an EuroPlasticity. My daily recovery routine is simple but deliberate. I walk while listening to audio playback of my own writing. This allows learning without eye strain. I write my daily journal by hand, not by typing. This is a design choice. Handwriting activates many brain regions, more than 15 at the same time, including motor control, spatial processing, language, and memory. Typing activates far fewer, less than 5. This routine is not a habit, it is a system. Walking provides rhythm. Audio reinforces memory. Handwriting forces coordination across the brain. Together, they form a closed-loop training system. I am entirely self-learned in medicine. That matters. I was not trained to follow rigid protocols. I rely on willpower, persistence, observation, first principles, and repeated testing on myself. My recovery became a real-time experiment, observed day by day, not derived from statistics. From this experience, I now see stroke recovery as an engineering problem. Traditional medicine often predicts outcomes but rarely explains how recovery can be actively shaped. What I observed is that timing, structure, and input design matter. Modern neuroscience supports this view. Imaging studies show that handwriting activates broad neural networks, while digital tapping reinforces narrow loops. New drugs help stabilize brain tissue during the critical recovery window. Brain-computer interfaces show that recovery can restart even after progress stalls. Materials science is moving toward direct structural repair. All of this points in the same direction. Stroke recovery is not random. It is controllable, structural, time-dependent, and path-dependent. But neuroplasticity is not infinite. It is capacity-limited. Discipline, consistency, and sustained effort determine how much of that capacity can be captured. Recovery is not a miracle. It is engineering, applied patiently to the most complex system we have, the human brain. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.